Kriti ma'am, I am going live.
Rohit, I'm admitting everyone, guys. We're going live. So everyone, good luck.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited today. We have something very different lined up. It's a very, very exciting discussion. So, they say the more things change, the more they stay the same. So we're going to find out about that today, and we're going to really explore deep. So Sipping Thoughts in partnership with Orient Square present Woman 2030. It's a panel discussion with Generation Alpha, or Gen Next as we call them. Woman 2030 is a 4-part series that we are hosting in April and May to see what are the thoughts of the next generation and how different are they from ours. So Nitin, I'm going to turn it over to you. Please tell us a little bit about Women 2030 and especially about today and what we're going to do.
Thank you so much, Kriti. So Women 2030 is an idea that we conceived together with Sipping Thoughts. The purpose of this was that we wanted to actually take a peek into the future of how the future is going to look like for women, which is going to be shaped by the thoughts and perspectives of the new generation. So we thought there's an opportunity for us to actually hear from the new generation on how their thoughts, their perspectives have shaped up and how they would like to see the woman of 2030 in terms of their place, their position, their identity, their status in the society. And this has a dual purpose. So one, there's an opportunity for the present day generation to see if what are the progressive things that they see happening, and if one can accelerate to those to that progression. And if there are aspects of whatever we see in the future that are not very progressive or the way we would like them to be, then actually introspect and see what are the things that we need to change today so that we don't end up where it's looking like going. So it's a very interesting opportunity for this new generation to let us have a peek into the future and influence the kind of practices, the kind of things that we are doing and the kind of things that we can alter. So it's an amazing opportunity. And we have this happening in 4 parts. The first of which is going to be about relationships. So today is an opportunity to look at how the new generation looks at the aspect of the relationship with respect to the women today, and how it might look into the future in 2030. So that's what this is about.
So thank you, Nitin. So today, as you talked about, we're talking about a very close subject, which is relationships, marriage, and family, and how we look at this and how this is going to evolve as we move towards 2030. So we've got some excellent judges that will help us moderate this session. We've got Ms. Priya Ingorani and Ms. Diksha GC. And we have also 5 amazing next gen students with us that will be providing their perspective on this subject. Also, we will be choosing one of the students who we feel, and of course, please chime in with your input. Who do we feel should make it to the next round, in which we will be kind of summarizing and taking this topic to kind of fruition about who is the woman of 2030. I'd like to introduce the 2 judges and my 2 hosts with me. We've got Diksha Chelani. She's a mental and emotional health coach. She's a skill trainer and an ICF certified life coach. She's an expert in human transformation through an amalgamation of New Age neuroscience and ancient yoga techniques. Wow. She also serves as the chairperson for All Ladies League's Mom Coaching. Welcome, Diksha. So happy to have you. And I'm also going to introduce Ms. Priya Hingorani, who's a senior advocate with the Supreme Court of India. She's a leading advocate and activist who continues her mother's legacy of fighting for the right cause. She is a renowned advocate in the area of family law. So before we begin, I want to ask these two amazing women, what do they see as the woman of 2030? So please start, Diksha. I would like to understand your perspective. Who is this new age woman?
First of all, thank you so much for this warm welcome. And I'm really excited by the discussion that's going to happen today. It's really innovative, and I'm looking forward to what the next generation is coming up with. For me, the women of 2030 is somebody who is grounded in her trueness of who she is as a person, who doesn't get swayed away or who doesn't get obligated by the different kind of cultures, traditions, or objected by her roles that the society has to her. And if she doesn't serve that role, she's being judged, she's being labeled as something she's not. So what I would really aspire to see a woman of 2030 is grounded in her trueness to what she is capable of and what she is as a person, and fully exploring and fully expanding her with all her horizons. So I think
I love it, Diksha.
Yeah.
And I'm saying fully also equal. I would say we still say that women are equal, but I'm hoping to add that too. Priya, taking it to you, what do you see as the woman of 2030?
See, I would say a woman of 2030 has to be very, very strong, very sensitive, very well aware of her legal and social responsibilities. Also, she has to strike a balance between being a very modern woman and at the same time taking forward the responsibilities of being in a family and society. I think it's a combination of both. You can't have one and not the other. It has to be a balance. And I think what we have been seeing in the last few years, that somewhere we are losing that balance. So I think as we go on from 2022 to 2030, we must, apart from the fact that we instill on our women, on our next gen, whether it is boys or girls, that they must maintain that balance and must be absolutely bold and strong.
Oh, I love it. But Priya, you asked a very interesting question. And before we get into asking all of our panelists, I would love for you to ask them all that question to start us off. And then we'll go with getting into the depth of it.
Can I show the young Jan? I can't see them on the screen. That's why.
Yes, they're there. There's Gauri, there's Bhavleen, there's Shaurya, there's Anjali, and there is Nishant. So I would love to throw your question to them. And quickly, we want one-word answers only for this question.
Okay. I would like to ask all of you, how many of you are going to get married?
Come on, quick, Gauri.
To be honest, I'm already married to my dreams and interests, but yes, I would love to marry in future.
Bhavleen?
I'd be diplomatic and say maybe.
Shaurya?
Yeah, I guess I will marry at some point.
You guess you will. Okay. It doesn't seem very like, oh my God, I'm dying to get married. Anjali?
Maybe, yes, I will.
And last but not least, Nishant?
I'm unlikely.
Unlikely. Wow. So we've got the spectrum here. So we are already seeing that everybody is saying maybe, not sure. So very, very important. So let's jump right into it. And my first question is to Gauri Vadera. She is a 12th grader at Bal Bhavan Public School, Delhi. She's an aspiring poet who enjoys writing to express herself. So Gauri, my question to you is, what is the importance of relationships like those of being a daughter, a sister, a spouse, and a mother? The reason we ask these questions is because this is how we have typically defined women until now. Go ahead, Gauri.
Thank you for the amazing introduction, ma'am. Talking about why is it important? If there is no reasonable reasons as to why it's not important, it must be important. When we talk of women, today we see her diverse roles of a mother, daughter, spouse, sister, and as times have evolved, Today, in the modern world, we see them in the roles of leaders, teachers, and heroines of life without any limits that make them achieve as much as any other gender. I believe that in future 2030 we'll see even more relationships. Women as change makers, like there are many right now also, and women as women. These relationships, in a way, I think they define the identity of a woman in a society, of course. Some people mistake that women need support and thus have relationships, but ironically, they themselves are a support. And with this empathic and compassionate side of their human self, they reach out so that anyone can depend on them. No person will deny today if I say that one of the most important relationship of a woman is a shoulder to lean on, cry on, a mother's lap to sleep peacefully on. I believe everyone has a purpose in life. You, I, everyone. So when we talk about women, they are here to spread their unique aura from a pure, kind, and cheerful daughter till a respecting, responsible, caring, and mature mother who will do 10,000 things a day without any problems and work overtime on weekends also. So
Wow,
in a
beautifully
nutshell,
said, Gauri. That is amazing. I mean, I love it because you've captured so much of the essence of a woman. Diksha, I'd like to get your take on this also.
I think it's beautiful what Gauri has said, and it makes sense. And we need to address women more than being a sister, being a mother, being a housekeeper. That she's more also, she carries forward being a leader, being who she is, like being, being a helping hand, and she can be relied on. She's much more to only these roles, because till now we have just objected her into these roles and we see through only this lens. So I think it's beautifully captured. Gauri, great work.
And before I go on from the audience, I'd also like to get your answer to this. So what do you think are the importance of these relationships that a woman today is kind of being seen as the focus of being a daughter, a sister, a spouse, a mother, and a woman? And we'll take a rebuttal from Shaurya. Do you feel differently, Shaurya, or do you agree?
Well, ma'am, I think that in this patriarchal world, the boys are always taught that men don't feel pain and men don't cry. So this is a reason that when they grow up, they are like emotionless. And this is where the woman of the house has to come up and take care of the family. So we have to change that.
I think, Shaurya, you're just put in a very valid point here, that the whole chemistry between how we have been treating boys and girls must change, because boys are not emotionless, although they are. We are being told to suppress their emotions and just to be portrayed as strong people. So I think it's no need to be a cultural change in the society where we actually start treating men and women and like boys and girls from the very young ages, that they can feel the emotions too, and girls can go and take leadership roles too. So it has to be go hand in hand and not objected towards one gender specific thing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, Diksha. But at the same time, I feel that it a lot depends on the family, in the family background, on the parents, particularly the mother in the house, how she brings up both the children, whether they are boys or girls, and it starts at home, right from their infancy, how they are treated and how they are brought up, and that's very important. Is when we talk to the young generation, we also want to tell them that when you go back home, you have to, if the mindset is not there at home at the moment, you have to create that mindset in your own homes, amongst your friends, amongst your juniors, amongst the society at large, where you are responsible enough to take this forward. So it's very important. Very good point, Shaurya.
Very nicely
Wonderfully put.
said, I
Yeah.
think. And I totally agree. This mindset question always comes up. We're going to take the next question. We're going to move to Bavleen, who's also, she's a 12th grader. She's at Tagore International School in Vasant Vihar, and she believes anything is possible with a little bit of kindness. So Bavleen, for you, what kind of relationship should a mother have with her children? And I will ask this more broadly because we put still the onus on the mother.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the question. So according to me, a mother and a child relationship is one of the most dynamic relationships that I've come across. She's the first human the child interacts with. In the early years, they're said to be inseparable. The child basically grows on their mother's love. As the child grows, he or she starts seeing how the outside world works. They start picking up things. They still love their mother the same, but they start comparing people around themselves. At this time, for a mother to be able to communicate with their child and explain him things like imperfection, everyone loves differently and in their own ways, is extremely important according to me. As soon as the child enters their teenage years, the comparison increases more, and children find comfort more in their friends rather than their parents. And I think the onus of this goes on to both the parents, not just a mother. At this time, for a mother and the father to be understanding and supportive while also giving the necessary space to the child can strengthen their relationship to no bounds. In the coming years, even looking around right now, more of us are stuck to our gadgets most of the time, and we don't understand how that is affecting our relationships with our parents or anybody else for that matter. We expect our parents to always initiate, but when they do, we dismiss them. So children might expect their parents to give more space in the coming years, be available when they need them to be, but communication will always be key, according to me. If the mother and the child can communicate through whatever way that works for them, I think their relationship will always stay intact no matter what. And I would like to end by saying that mothers hold their children's hands for a short while, but their hearts forever. Thank you so much. I'm open to any other questions and rebuttals.
Pavleen, very nicely said. But I would have loved to also hear that the relationship of a mother, and why in 2030 are we not talking about the relationship with the father? So Priya, I'm going to hand this to you. What are your thoughts?
See, according to me, from what it was in the past, where there were joint family systems and the wives were mostly home and the husbands were working and they were like the main bread earners, things were different. Yes, mother was the primary caregiver. Now with generation X or generation from, I would say for the last 10 years or so, things have changed. Fathers are totally hands-on fathers. They, right from the time from the child is born, they love to change the nappy, or they're part of the growing up of the child, looking after the child at home. So times have changed. I think men have started assuming in some cases the role of a primary caregiver for the child. And I can tell you from my experience in courts, more and more cases are coming where for visitation or for custody in courts, the younger generation is fighting tooth and nail to have access to the child, to be with the child, in certain cases, actually taking custody of the children. So I would say the times have really changed, and it's a huge point now. And I mean, it's a huge change of the thought process. And I actually applaud it. I think boys are really doing well and are thinking. So I really feel when anybody says, I may think about marriage and I don't want to get married, I would say, don't think like that. Definitely get married, because children are the most beautiful part of that relationship. And you, as you have got the love and affection of your parents, you should do that, give that love and affection to a child of your own sooner or later.
Very well said. I mean, and I think, like I said, I would have rephrased the question, what kind of relationship would a parent have with their children? And I'll take the rebuttal from you, Anjali. Go ahead, Anjali.
Anjali, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm so sorry for the delay. I totally agree with Pavleen, whatever she said. She probably expressed the feelings of a mother as towards her children and their relationship.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any other comments, Diksha, or from you, Nitin, on this topic?
Nitin, you want to speak? You want to share?
No, you go ahead first, Diksha.
Right. So I think it's, as everybody said, it's the most crucial and the important bond that a child shares with a parent. And nowadays the chemistry is changing, but how I see it, yet there is a long way to go. There still are, maybe in the, metropolitan cities, fathers are coming up, they are taking responsibilities. But if we talk about the B grade cities, if we talk about India, there is still a lot of scope for that, where we need to educate fathers, where we need to educate also mothers, that how to give responsibility to fathers and not single-handedly take everything on themselves, right? There is still scope, but we are getting there. And in 2030, I think it is more of the women that need to start giving responsibility to the fathers, to their husbands, and not just blindly taking everything on themselves, and realizing that they are equal partners with them, whether it's bringing up the children, whether it's taking care of the house, and co-creating their life together. So that is how I see it.
And I love the word, this co-creation, because I think we're going to see a very different type of structure as we move forward. Nitin, from you.
Yeah, no, I quite enjoyed what Diksha said. And I think there is a huge opportunity for women to empower the men to become better fathers, and also what Bhavleen said about communication being the key. And I think there's going to be a huge change happening in time to come on how children are going to expect them to be given more space. And despite that space, how do you continue to have a new kind of bond? I think there's going to be an opportunity for mothers to adapt, to the new realities, that are going to emerge in the next 8 to 10 years. So
And
it's
I
going
love
to be challenging and
It's
interesting.
time for, if I'm taking one takeaway, time for women to empower the men to actually take up also what is their role as fathers. I love it. I love it. And we're going to move on to Shaurya. Shaurya is a 10th grader or an 11th grader. I'm not sure, because as you can see, I'm bad at
11th,
maths
yes.
here. From Alliance World School. He loves robotic, he plays chess, and he's a brilliant coder. All this already. Oh my God. So Shaurya, the question to you is, what does a lower divorce rate in India say about the quality of relationship? And more importantly, what does this say also about the future of families in India?
Thank you for the introduction, ma'am. Honestly, before I heard the question for the first time, I never thought that India could be a country with such low divorce rates. For a moment there, I believed that Indian couples are happily married. But when I gave it more thought, I questioned myself. Is everything so perfect in India with citizen moral and the society's dogmatic beliefs towards relationship? The answer was that we are making applaudable progress, but we are far away from perfection. Then what is the reason for such impressive statistics? A deeper thought provided me with several reasons. First of all comes social reason. Social taboos against divorced men and women, especially women, create fear, which acts as a barrier to divorce. This clearly shows that divorce rates are low because even today, too many women are not in a position to speak up against their families or support themselves financially if they choose to walk out of oppressive marriages. Secondly, Indians are never taught to prioritize individual happiness, which is good and sometimes bad. The family's reputation and the feelings of the entire society around us are supposed to be more important than following our hearts. Thus, divorce comes with the tremendous stigma of selfishly abandoning your familial duties and damaging your family name in the process. We live in a patriarchal society, so gender plays a role here too. So many men might be able to stand up and be ready to jeopardize their family's reputation. But on the other hand, women who have struggled in the past, even for the allowance of widow remarriages and the ban of inhuman practices such as sati, are not ready to get suffered for ruining their family's reputation. Last but not least, the psychological reason. Many women are forced to get married at a very young age. These women have an open mindset before marriage, but when they get married, social norms create a fixed mindset in their mind, and they never get to experience a better life. They don't even know that they might get a better life if they choose to stand for themselves. Thank you.
Shaurya, I'm going to throw you a rebuttal question myself. Do you think now this is changing with the women that you are meeting of your generation? Or do you still see the self-sacrificing nature and not being able to take charge for our own individual identities? Love to hear from you.
Ma'am, as we can see, most of the judges are women. So I can tell that women are
Don't
standing
talk
for
about the
themselves.
judges. I want to talk about you and your friends. I want to talk about Gen Next because we're Gen old.
Most of the panelists are also judges. Majority of the panelists are also judges, and they're of my generation. So I think that women are standing up for themselves. But more focus is that we have to be dealing with the previous generation because they are the one who are creating the mindset for the younger generation. We have to deal with them.
Agreed. And that's where I agree with you that most of us women are subconsciously maybe passing down messages. Priya, I would love to take your thoughts on this because you see this every day in the courts.
Absolutely. Sukriti, things are very different on the ground. And of course, as Diksha said, in the B grade, the B town, so there are things, legal awareness and things need to change, and women have to, have a thought process where they want to hand over their responsibilities. But, I feel that women of today are by and large aware of the dual rights or the co-creativity of the relationship. It's just they don't know how to go about it, or economically it is not viable for them to go about it. But I feel by 2020, a lot of it is linked with economic empowerment, economic relationships that the two individuals will be having in 2020, boys and girls in a relationship. And if the women are equally, in the percentage of women in the workforce is as high or as 50% to what the men force is, things are definitely going to change, because no woman now would like to give up her career for the sake of children or for the sake of family and not advance her career or go ahead, as compared to what it was in our times, I would say, or even earlier to us. Many of women at that time have sacrificed their careers for the sake of children, for the sake of family. Now, I think the precondition in most marriages, because I work with a lot of girls and boys before they get married, and when we work with the matrimonial companies who are actually fixing these alliances, the precondition in most of the cases is that the girl says, I will continue to work after marriage. And if that is acceptable, then I'm ready to even think about this alliance or talk to this family or to the boy. So now this has become a precondition in many cases. Of course, on the other side, there are preconditions where they say that, well, we don't want a working wife or we don't know a working woman. And most families do not want to enter alliance into that family. They want the choice to be left to the girl, whether she does want to work or she does not want to work. So, things are changing even when you start an alliance. But in courts, I can tell you, this is a big issue. Women say, why I'm not being allowed to work, and that's why my marriage is failing. Or the children are not being looked after by my husband, and that's why marriage is failing. So things, each case to its own, that things are different to what it used to be earlier. The concept of divorce cases in court, the thought process is completely different now.
But Priya, I like the fact that you brought up a very important point, the financial independence for women, and how important that is in bringing out this equality that we continuously talk about. Before I take the rebuttal from Gauri, I'm going to read two comments that we've received. So Smita says, we as women need to trust men that they're equally capable to deliver mainly on their tasks that for donkey's years have been considered women's duties. So I think first and foremost, women's duties, men's duties, these need to be struck off. These are parental duties now. And Smita, love it. Jyotika says, perfect lives have nothing to do with perfect marriages. We should be talking different forms of families and different types of homes. So I think, yes, as we see the evolution towards 2030, we're going to see very different type and a very different type of social structure that will emerge in terms of co-parenting and the different type of family structures that will work. And I'll take the rebuttal from you, Gauri. Go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm sure you rightly put all your points. And I'm really curious to know from you, like, what if these social pressure and all these problems weren't in the scenario? So would you suggest these women or the people to take the divorce, or would you let the people face those problems and psychological problems that you suggested?
I would actually suggest that they take the divorce, because in India, most of the marriages are arranged marriages. So their parents, it's like a civil contract. It's not like two people getting in love and marrying each other. It's like a civil contract.
It's a civil contract. So it's almost like we're talking about a JV that's happening.
Yeah, it's like an agreement between their families. So if they're not happy, then they should take the divorce, I think.
Great. Awesome. So we're going to move on to the next question. And we're going to talk to Anjali Gupta, who's a 12th grader from ST Vidya School, who loves playing outdoor sports, especially cricket, and also decorating things and doing a lot of DIY. So to you, Anjali, what is your opinion about the importance of marriage as an institution? And I'd like you to answer this going forward in 2030. What do you think is the importance of marriage?
If we see, then marriage is a socially approved relationship between men and women. It is an important social institution that satisfies physical, social, psychological, cultural, and economic needs of each other. But if we are building into a relationship, it should be healthy and approved by both of them. Nowadays, we see around across the world, there are certain people or women who are forced into marriages because of society, family pressure, or economic dependency. Hundreds of millions of girls worldwide are still subjected to child marriage, even though it has been internationally recognized as human rights violation. You may have seen an article by UNICEF Nepal 2019, which says that a girl named Rashida Khatun in southern eastern Nepal said that I realized the harm I would be causing myself if I agreed to get married. Rashida enrolled in a UNICEF supported program that provides out school for girls with basic numeracy, literacy, and life skills. So, as in my opinion, marriage is an important institution when there is certain balance between men and women. If there is a balance between a man and women, then it wouldn't be ended. And in 2030, I would see a marriage as an important aspect.
So I will ask you another question as we move forward. What about live-in relationship and new types of relationships that are coming up?
Yeah, about live-in relationship, it is not supported by the society sometimes. Sometimes they say that marriage is.
What about by your generation? Let's forget society because we are of a previous generation. How do you feel your generation looks at the issue and says, no, because when we heard from all five of you, most of the people were not sure about marriage.
I would say live-in relationship from my aspect would be great because to know your partner more and more so that you would be able to know that you wanted to get married or you wanted to bind with him is very important.
Excellent. Deeksha, I'd love to talk to you and understand what are the new forms and marriage as an institution versus other forms of relationship, and how do you see this emerging?
So marriage has been, forever there for quite centuries now, and different forms are emerging up. And like one of the things you talked about, live-in relationships and, trial relationships, all of that. Although, the basics remains the same, that when two people want to, they are themselves wanting to live together and not objected by any pressure, social pressure, or any obligation, then that relationship flourishes. And whenever there is any kind of obligation or any kind of, because of any, fear, two people are in any relationship, then it is bound to derail. So, having live-in relationship or some other kinds of relationship where, nowadays it's more about, not only between men and females, but, we are having bisexual and sexual, polygamy relationships. All of that is emerging up. So it's a very, very personal choice. And it's more coming out of an individual perspective. But again, there is sometimes we also don't know what we want, and we get swayed away by what is trending or what we keep hearing about. It has an effect on our subconscious mind, and we start getting drawn towards that. So it's very important to check in with yourself. What is important to me? What am I heading towards? And that clarity we can only get when from the childhood, we are being, told, or we are being conditioned that way, that you address your needs first and not giving up to what others are conditioning you with.
And I'd like to take a quick take also from Priya on this, on the legal aspects of how does she see this changing?
See, it has changed, yes. Legally, live-in relationships is now recognized. A live-in partner gets a full right of maintenance. The children born out of a live-in.
And what about same-sex partners also?
Even same-sex partners, now marriages are legalized, the same-sex partners. Well, of course, as far as the rights of same-sex partner is concerned, that is under consideration. Amendments to the law are being brought about. But as far as maintenance is concerned, of course, that is legally recognized, and you do get you can go to the court for maintenance for either a live-in partner or a same-sex partner. Having said that, I do want to also point out just one more thing, that when we talked of live-in relationships and why it has changed, initially there was a lot of resistance to live-in relationships because the parents felt that it was completely taboo. It was not the way to go about in a relationship. And mostly when the cases which we came across was because there was a lot of issue of impotency and whether they were physically or emotionally would bond together, and that's why a lot of people went in for live-in relationships. Now the trend has changed to the point that a lot of families themselves feel that it's a good idea to have a live-in relationship, particularly the younger generation, and parents are comfortable with that, because we find very often our generation families saying that my son is in a live-in relationship or my daughter is in a live-in relationship, more so in the Western world, and if they are comfortable, then they will decide to get married. So yes, the thought process has changed, and I would welcome it, because I think it's important for the young generation to be absolutely, there's no 100% success in any marriage. It is, the relationship has to be worked on continuously, constantly by both the partners, and in India by both the families as well. Here it is a marriage of the families, as was said by one of the panelists. And but at the same time, the fact that we are accepting live-in relationships, the law has accepted live-in relationships, I think is a huge step forward.
Fantastic rebuttal. I will take from Nishant. Go ahead.
Yes. So Anjali said that how some daughters are forced into marriages, but she didn't quite address the issue of arranged marriages. It's not like the daughters are there forced, but they don't forced to marry, but they don't have complete say in their partner either. And like, I think that the most important issue of marriage, at least for the partners, is like tying the knot and taking their relationship with a significant other to the next level. And arranged marriages kind of defeat this purpose. So I would just like to know that what is her take on that?
Go ahead, Anjali, a quick response from you.
I would say that arranged marriages are something which both of them accept to do, is because they want a bind. They want a bond between each other, and they see each other. They first of all, they say compatibility in each other. Then only they say yes to get married. So I would say that arranged marriages could be possible, and it is possible, and maybe because of economic dependency also it is happening. So yeah.
Thank you. And I'm just going to read something that's coming in from the chat from Sangeeta. Institutes are breaking up, including marriage. Even if people take the vows to stay together, love or arranged or live in, and it gets sour as people grow and have different goals deviated from, and one partner decides to move away as a personal choice, which does not complement the relationship. So an equal relationship suffers. So how can women and men deal with this? We'll come back to this question, but I'm going to move on to Nishant, who is our last question for the day that we're going to be doing, who is a 10th grader from Whitefield Global School in Bengaluru. He is an avid Mooner and is keenly interested in domestic as well as international issues, especially related to gender inequality. So I think this question, Nishant, is right up your alley. So what does an equal relationship mean to you? And that's why I also wanted to read Sangeeta's remark, because this inequality in a relationship really produces a lot of disparity. Go ahead, Nishant.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me. According to me, in an equal relationship in marriage is one where neither partner is socially or financially dependent on the other. Both have equal control and stakes in the relationship. None of them try to impose their will on the other, and the relationship is not influenced by social restrictions, social taboos, and that whole package. For example, even though a lot of progress in gender equality has been done, to this day, many families in India, especially in rural regions, do not allow the women to work, and the men are exempted from household duties. And besides, there's also a big wage gap between men and women. And while women representation in the parliament is at an all-time high, it is not 50% yet. In fact, in many Western countries too, women representation in the parliament is not 50%. These are some issues that I think need to be addressed. But by coming back to the question, both the partners should be equals in the relationship, And equality here is not a rigid concept, it's a flexible one. Equality means different things for different couples, but in the end, it is just when both the partners mutually agree to their roles and are happy with it. And maybe the most important thing is that both of them have mutual respect for each other, and neither partner tries to control the other. Another aspect of marriages that I would like to highlight is the social taboo against divorces. Just like Shaurya also stated, not just in India, but in several African countries too, divorce is something that everyone looks down on. And it just doesn't make sense to me. It's totally the decision of the partners, and the society mocking them about it shouldn't be a factor when they decide that. Besides, in many African countries, the social situations are such that a divorce is often a leverage the husband has, since it is often a death sentence for the wife, both socially and financially. So another
I really
aspect
like
for
what you said, that divorce is a sentence. And till we remove this taboo, that we're also going to be facing a lot of issues. I'd like to also take Diksha's point of view on this.
Yeah, I think equality is something that binds the relationship, and especially in cultures like us, when women are not giving the basic qualities, like they are not included in the decision making of the families, like all the conversations in the families. I keep hearing things from women, from girls, that they're not included as part of the decision making. They're not included as part of the part of the process of how and what is important to us, right? We are just being told, we are just being because that has been the culture from the very starting in the family. So that has how it has been told to us. So equality is something that really binds any two relationship together, and not only for a husband and wife, but overall chemistry of a family, that how you look upon women in your families, right? In the patriarchal world, today also I see so many families where the decision makers, or where the men are considered to be the head of the families, and when women are considered for other chores or other work. So equality starts from the stems of it, that how you look upon women, starting from your own homes, right? Starting from your own maybe not nuclear families, but from joint families. How do you look or see women as? So I think it needs to start from there.
Perfect. I'll take closing remarks from Bableen, and we will share some survey slides that we did. 100+ students, and then we will have some closing remarks from the judges. Go ahead, Bableen. Go ahead, Priya.
I just make two very small points on this issue. One, I want to just say is that in the past has always been that if the daughter is married off and she's given gifts or dowry or whatever, and a lot of money is spent on her marriage, then that's what she's entitled to, and the rest of the property or the money or the finances of the house was just given to the son. It is as if it was just the right thing or the automatic thing to do. Now, ever since the judgment of the Supreme Court has come, which clearly says that even if the girl is married off and a lot of has been spent on her marriage, she is equally entitled to the rights or in the property of the parent, of the father, of the mother. And it's not that just because she's been married and she's sent off to another house that she is absolved of that right. And I think it's a very important judgment which has put in total perspective the fact that boy and a girl in a family are equal, and they have equal rights in the property or in the father.
Very important decision, and very important legal right.
Yeah. So that is what is one thing which I wanted to point out. And I think when we talk of equality in the home, now it is more the responsibility of the brothers in the family to ensure that when their sisters are being married off, or their parents think that they, spending on their marriage or giving them gifts is enough for them. No, they should put their foot down and say, we have equal rights. The sisters have equal rights in the family. That's one point. The second point is, I am definitely a person who propagates that there should be one and more siblings in a family. I am not in favor of a single child nuclear family, because I find that the person, one, gets left out with the love and affection of the siblings. Two, doesn't know how to share, doesn't have the respect for the a person other than who is a sibling. So it's very important, even for this generation 2030, I would definitely say, do get married, number one. Number two, definitely have 2 children, if not more, because you will understand the bond of sibling love, living in a family, sharing, and the care that you would share with each other, love and affection.
Lots of people are totally agreeing, and I would love the rebuttal from Bavleen very quickly. Bavleen? Is Bavleen there? All right, I don't see her. Nitin, I want you to quickly show the slides so people can get an idea of what the survey
Hi,
results.
I'm here. I'm so sorry.
Okay, go ahead,
Unfortunately,
Bavleen.
to unmute, I got disconnected.
No worries, no worries. Go ahead, Bavleen.
Right. So, according to me, equal in marriage for me means being treated the same way you expect yourself to be treated, having equal opportunities, and not disrespecting each other just because you think you're superior to the other. Marriage is a beautiful concept, but when superiority and dominance starts coming into the picture, love starts fading away. And without that, I do not think of marriage as a whole. So having an equal playing field in such a relationship is extremely important for me. And that was my take. Thank you.
Thank you, Bavleen. And Nitin, if you can quickly, or Rohit, quickly show the slides, and Nitin can take us very quickly through them so that some of the people can see that we had over 100 people that responded and some of the answers that we received.
Yeah, so we had a few survey questions floated around to the school students. And this is actually a peek into what they think about how the women of 2030 is going to look like. So to the question, how important do you think relationships like daughterhood, motherhood, sisterhood, and all of this is? They feel that this is extremely important. It's going to continue to stay very important. 45% of the students think that. 27% of the students think that it's a personal choice and no general assumptions can be made. What's the purpose of marriage? For most people, well, this is a very mixed response here. You have people thinking that it has no purpose. It's only what we are supposed to do because our society tells us to do. So starting from there to saying that people are getting married and having children is a logical step for everyone to do after a certain age. To some people saying marriage keeps Indian society family oriented. So to maintain family life, marriage is very important. So it's a very mixed opinion on this question, as we also saw from the panelists responding
Next slide,
to this.
Rohit.
Which among the following do you think is the most important reason for a man to marry, and versus which is the most important thing for a woman to marry? Here are the comparisons between the two. For men, it seems the reason is to have a fulfilling family life as the number one reason. And then it's about someone to take care of the parents, followed by to have someone to take care of the household. And for women, it's about having a fulfilling family relationship is the first, prime reason. To then every girl dreams of getting married and having a house of her own. So as you can see, the contrast between how men and women look at marriage, even in the new generation, it doesn't seem to be very different from how our generation has been looking at it.
Which is very scary.
Yes. And here is the one about understanding. Okay, here are a couple of subjective type questions that we received the responses on. Understanding of equal relationship. The gist was an equal relationship is an equal distribution of respect, care, and support for one another, and where both parties should take into account their partner's feelings when it comes to big decisions of financial security or childbearing. To the foundation of any successful marriage is equality and trust. So that's the gist of that particular response. And there was also one on implication of low divorce rate, where they said the stigma around divorce is what makes India's divorce rate the lowest in the world, and the social pressure making one compromise with one another to keep the marriage intact, which is also what came out today. Many of the responses suggest that quality cannot be assessed from the couples put on or how they want to see, how they want to show to the others, as most of the time there's a deeper issue at stake.
Well, thank you, Nitin, for sharing that. And we just like to now take the closing remarks from Priya and from Diksha. And then I think, Nitin, you will announce who the winner is.
Yes.
Go ahead, Priya and Diksha.
Okay. See, I'm from the survey, what I found was that 28% say that marriage is not necessary. From 100%, I find marriage is not necessary. So that's, I would say, a disturbing trend for me for 2030.
And that's what a lot of the people are saying. They can't believe it's, first of all, the disturbing trend. Some is very similar to what we are today. And yeah, very interesting. Go ahead, Priya.
It is disturbing because I think it's the I would say, you know, the misgivings which are now around the concept of marriage have to be dispelled with for the younger generation. They have, of course, a lot of them listen to the cases or the peers as to what has happened, and they find that within the family or amongst their friend circle, somebody's gone through a tough marriage or a tough divorce proceedings, and that impacts them. But I think it's very important to be secure personally. You have to be very, very self-confident and secure within your own being to be able to go into any relationship. I mean, that falls for a relationship with your brother, with your sister, or with the friends. You know, it's very easy to have friends, but to maintain a friendship, it's a two-way system. So even with family or friends, and it's exactly the same case in a marriage. You have to be secure within to be able to take forward a relationship. And when you get into a married relationship, you have to also be a give and take relationship. Every relationship is full of compromises, understanding, sensibility, sensitivity, and emotion. So if you are able to maintain a relationship with your brother and sister or your friends, then I think it's a relationship you will be able to build in a marriage. So please do not discount marriage in your lives. Do think about it very, very positively. Of course, there is a lot of do's and don'ts, which I have talked about earlier with Sipping Thoughts. And I always say, do your due diligence in a marriage relationship before you go into it. And I wish all of you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Priya. Diksha, would love to hear your closing thoughts.
Thank you so much. And I totally agree with what Anvi said. And it is mainly what is seen through that today's generation and, you know, the future generation, they are having this impatience to get everything very quickly. And therein, wherein we have to put in some effort into any relationship, which could be your immediate friend, your family, your brother, sister, your sibling. And when we do not put in that elongated effort, we tend to miss out the essence we get out of that relationship. So it's a continuous process. It's a continuous process, but there is a lot, the companionship that you get out of in a marriage, the comfort, the compatibility, the partnership that you get in a marriage is incomparable to any other relationship. So be willing to put in the effort, be patient to put in the effort, I would say, in today's, to the new generation, and not just get disheartened or give in, rather be open to it. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Priya. Thank you, Diksha. Thank you, Nitin. And I think everybody is waiting for the drum rolls. Like, okay, we heard from so many. We'd love to hear the thoughts, even from everybody that has joined us. That, who do they feel kind of conveyed that concept of how do they see also women in 2030? Over to you, Nitin.
So our results are ready. I'd quickly like to also take a dipstick. Who did they think was the top two for them? Take 2 minutes from the audience as well.
Everyone was great, so I don't think we can even narrow down to the top two. It's going to be a tough choice for you, Nitin.
Yeah, we've got our results. So
great. So let us know. We are all dying. I'm sure everybody is dying to know.
Okay. So we've identified the top two here. And the number one for us is Bhavleen.
Congratulations, Bhavleen. Great job. Awesome. Well done. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I know
it was a pleasure being here.
Yes, I was just going to say, Bhavleen, please say a few words.
Right. It was a pleasure being here. I love how Priya ma'am and Diksha ma'am, you guys portrayed our thoughts better in words than we all could collectively. And I had a lot of fun, and I got so many takes on some issues that I don't think I could have had a viewpoint on that way. So it was lovely being here and so insightful. Thank you so much, everyone.
Well, congratulations, Bavleen. Thank you, everyone. Like we said, Sipping Thoughts on Orient Square, we're putting together this series. We're going to be doing lots more. We're going to be talking about career. We're going to be talking about lots of issues. So it will be every 2 weeks. So join us back. Nitin, any closing words from you?
I had such a stupendous time. I think the kind of insights I got from the new generation, they were, of course, very stimulating, very motivating, but also how the judges, added value and how, Deeksha, I think also referred to some of the deeper underlying issues that we've got to look at. I think they're all very, very important for us to consider, to understand, how our thoughts are shaping up. And how the relationships have a very important role to play in giving rise to what the society is going to look like, and how we've got to watch how we are growing up, how we are forming our relationships. I think it's been a great journey, great interaction with everybody. I enjoyed it immensely.
So thank you, Deeksha. Thank you, Priya. Congratulations, Bavleen. And thank you all the panelists for a truly enlightening Saturday morning.
Thank you for
very
having us.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you
you,
so
ma'am.
much.
Thank you.
Wish you all the best, all of the young
Yeah,
generation. Thank you. Very nice meeting you, Nitin. Good luck.
Thank you, Priya.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Awesome.
Thank you, Nitin. Bye.
Thank you, Deeksha.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, panelists.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Sukirti,
sir.
thank you so very much. It was awesome. Awesome hosting. As always. And thanks for making it happen while you're traveling.